Hi everybody at the AHC and welcome to Reality Bites. My name is Carl Keeley. I'm the co-owner of Chumba Concept Salons, as well as a business coach and mentor for many of Australia's leading salons. Today we're going to discuss the topic of paying commissions, in particular service commissions. We'll leave out the retail commission for another video because that sort of complicates things. But today let's talk about service commissions. In particular, let's talk about where to set the target and then how much we can share once we've achieved the target. So to start off with, we need to understand that employment costs in Australia are amongst the highest in the world. So what we're paying for stylists and all the entitlements and everything else that we pay is right up there. It's probably the highest. It's definitely in the top three costs for hairdressers worldwide. So we need to understand that straight off the bat. This is not going to be a small number once we work it all out. So given that we all work towards a federal award rate, we do have a heads up as to what this number should be. Plus we also know all the entitlements that we need to pay. The working that out part is where hairdressers get really stuck because it requires a little bit of math. And I'm a hairdresser too, and I have been for 30 years, and I don't like spreadsheets. But as a salon owner, I had to decide to like spreadsheets. In fact, I had to decide to get very good at spreadsheets because I have to manage a lot of money and I'm responsible to a lot of people to get this number correct. So let's just get over the math thing and just agree with everybody straight off the bat. This is not harder than working out a colour formula. In fact, it's way easier. If you asked your average accountant to work out your colour formula for the day, they would be finished, done, finished. We can do basic maths, which is all that accounting is. Nothing really difficult, and we have to do it because it's our job. So let's get over that hump. Let's talk about an example of a stylist. And we'll just use round numbers for this. Please don't take these numbers as gospel because you will have to check the award, the federal award, or the employment contract depending on what you're working with. But for ease of maths today, let's just work on simple numbers. Let's say stylist A earns $1,000 a week for their 38-hour week. It's $1,000 gross before she pays tax or he pays tax that you pay out. Plus, we're also going to have to add in the fact that we pay 9.5% superannuation on top of that as well. So that really $1,000 becomes a bit more. Becomes a bit more than you'd first think. Now we're at $1,095, and that's okay. That's not a big number. There's other employment costs involved with the stylist though. So that stylist will have work cover and a few other things. Now work cover we're going to set aside and say, well, that is part of insurance and we'll deal with that in a separate category. Or if you want to be really minuscule with it, do put it in. It works out to be a tiny percentage when you work it out for the entire year. But either set it aside and we'll deal with it on the P&L insurance, or we'll deal with it as a wage package, whichever way works for you. Now stylist A is paid for 52 hours a week at that number, $1,095, no problem. The problem comes when we realize that stylist A doesn't work 52 hours a week. In fact, we have to budget for her to work only 44 hours a week. We have 4 weeks of paid holiday leave where they charge, where we pay more, 17.5% more for them to have a holiday. Then we've got to add in 2 weeks for sick pay, so now we're up to 6 weeks. And then we've got to assume that he or she may well become ill, and they're entitled to 2 further weeks. So we've got to take 9 weeks off the entire thing. So it's 4 weeks holiday, 2 weeks public holiday, 2 weeks sick pay, 8 weeks of the year. They won't be earning an income, but we have to pay them for this time because that's what the law is and that's the right thing to do. So we have to subtract that. So instead of 52 weeks, we have to pay the entire salary now in 44 weeks. So we're going to use that number as the actual time they can spend earning to set the commission to. There's no point setting commission based on weekly because, you know, for 8 of those weeks they're not going to make any money. So that number's going to be low. We've still got to pay all that stuff. Okay, so we know we've got to work this out 44 weeks. It's $1,095 on average over 44 weeks, etc., etc. So we have to work out $1,095 times 52, and that would be their target. Then you could divide it down by 44 if you want to do it that way. If you don't want to do it that way, one way you can do it is just add 20%. 20% is a rough number and it's not exact, but 20% will give us around about the right number. So if we say it's $1,000 times 20%, we're going to take into account the super and the other extra bits and bobs normally. But do it both ways and just see which one works for you most. So really we need to have $1,200 set aside for that person to pay for that person for the week. That's great. Okay, so $1,200 a week, so let's just say this much, is going to go to the stylist. We have to pay that. If we don't pay that, they're not going to turn up to work anymore. That money is spoken for the first $1,200, so that's one. The next thing we've got to pay for is all of the running costs in the salon. So we've got to pay for, obviously, the rent, the insurance, the gas, the water, the electricity, the stock, which is massive. Come back to that in another video. And support staff. And people forget that, and the support staff. So if you've got an apprentice, for example, who is doing a job, somebody actually has to pay for that apprentice. They can't actually generate enough income straight off the bat to cover themselves. We might have 2 apprentices, we might have a receptionist, we might have 2 receptionists. There's going to be support staff going on. We're going to have bookkeepers, we're going to have this, we're going to have that. So we're going to need about the same amount of money, probably around about the same amount of money to keep that person running. But that will vary from salon to salon. So I will come back to that. So far we're at about $2,400. Then there's the other person in the equation, which is the salon owner. Now, as the salon owner, you've made an enormous investment in time and money, and you actually deserve to get paid. So the way that we like to teach it is, we should expect from the stylist what the stylist should expect from us. So we could say, right, we'll make $1,200 too, plus the running costs, and there's 3 slices to that pie. Stylist will get paid, everyone else will get paid, I'll get paid, and that person has now become an asset to the company. You're actually generating money from that employment model, which is great. That's what you got into business for. So we know that that number is about 3 times what their base is. So that would be $3,600 before GST on services. Now this is where it gets tricky. That number does move around. Do you have support staff? Do you have high rent like a shopping centre? Do you have a receptionist? Do you waste colour like it's going out of fashion? All these factors will play into that. How many stylists are in your salon? If you have 20 stylists breaking up $100,000 rent, well, guess what? Each stylist is responsible for less of that rent. But if there's only 3 of you and it's $100,000, that's a lot. That's got to be covered. So it's going to vary, and you have to do your numbers for yourself. If you can't do them, get someone who can do them. Myself, another business coach, actually get down in there and find out what that number is. Once you know your number, let's just say it's 3 or it could be 4. It's normally in Australia somewhere in between 3.3, 3.5. I have seen 4.4. So it just depends on the number. Once you have, in our basic case, this much, you are then in a position to share. And you can share as much as you have in this other hand. These things have to be paid. This can be shared. So unless we go over this target, we can't share. There's nothing to share. So let's just say we had another $1,200 and we can share a portion of this. Now, it could be 10%, it could be 20%, it could be 25%, it could be gated. There's lots of different equations, but I'll tell you what it can't be. It can't be 50% because you're still got to pay stock and the support staff, the extra support staff this person will need, and you're still going to have to pay superannuation and payroll tax on this number. Don't say 50%. The most that we ever pay out, or that we advocate paying out, is 35%. That allows 9.5% for superannuation. That's not my money, that's their money. Plus extra payroll tax. In Victoria it's 4.85%. So how much to share gets complicated. So, since I'm out of time, I will leave that for the next video. How much can you share of this? How much should you share? And what is the right equation? Until next time, thank you Sandy and your whole team at the AHC. I've really enjoyed helping some of you understand this a little bit further. If you have any questions, please just message me. I'm happy to answer anybody. I'm happy to share all the equations in the spreadsheets to help our industry become stronger, which is our mission. I know it's the same mission as the AHC, so let's all go out there and make a wealthy, healthy industry that will attract more young people in. Thank you.